Hi, I'm Rita with Everything Homemade, and I just want to say thank you so much for purchasing your Greek yogurt starter. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to activate it step by step. So you can actually do this together with me, and we can get this starter culture activated. On top of showing you how to activate your culture, I am also going to share with you how to continue to reculture batch by batch so you can have your yogurt culture for years to come. Also going to dive in and really explain how cultures work. And you'd be like, well, I don't really need to know how cultures work. I'm just going to activate this, and then I'm just going to use the certain amount and put it into my next batch and reculture. But if you go onto Google and go, oh, I can't remember how much to use from the previous batch into my new batch, you'll get amounts, but it's not going to work that great because you'll be over culturing. And I want to really explain why I have so much success, why my yogurt is so thick, so creamy, so smooth and delicious, while others have to strain out the whey in order to get that thickness or use a filler in there. Well, I am not using any fillers and I'm not removing any whey, and I have absolute delicious Greek yogurt, and it's because I understand how the culture works and what's happening behind the scenes with that culture that you can't see with the naked eye. And I am going to share that with you so you can understand it and therefore have 100% success and enjoy your Greek yogurt. So I'm going to do a little talking here at first because I really think it's important for you to understand why before we activate and before you begin that journey of making the most delicious Greek yogurt. So to make that Greek yogurt so thick, so creamy, absolutely delicious in the bowl, where when you scoop it, it is just holding on the spoon and you put it in your mouth, and it's so smooth tasting with a little bit of tang, but not sour, just absolutely delicious in flavor, is understanding how cultures work. So in this package, you will have 2 packets. And in each packet, there is dehydrated Greek yogurt starter. And it's right from my starter. All the starter cultures that I sell are from my yogurt that I eat on a daily basis. Or they're my sourdough that I've made from my environment where I live. So it's very unique to where I live and what I'm eating. And so it even goes with the buttermilk culture that I do sell. This is really unique culture to my area where I live, and that's really, really cool. But the culture that is in here, it's sleeping. It's dormant. Okay, so it is in a state where we need to hydrate it and wake it up. So the very first time that we're going to activate that culture, your yogurt is not going to be the nicest. Let's just say it's going to be a little bit runny because you're waking it up. So at the second batch is when you're going to get that beautiful Greek yogurt. So your first batch, it's going to be okay. It's going to taste okay, but the second batch is going to be delicious. So keep that in mind when you're activating your Greek yogurt culture, that the first batch will be running. Now the reason is because that culture is sleeping. It's just like an athlete, okay? So let's say you took some break. You're not doing all those exercises, you're not working your muscles, you just took a complete break from the sport. And you are now at the position where you want to get back into that sport or whatever you were doing. And that requires you to do some exercising, some stretching, some, getting into the groove of where you used to be. And so this culture used to be an active culture, awake and multiplying, but now it's sleeping, and now you need to activate it. So that's why your first batch isn't as thick. When you activate it, you're waking up the culture, and it takes a moment for it to go, oh, wait a minute, I'm awake. I need to multiply and eat milk sugar and get this milk thick. So it needs some training, let's just say that, and it needs to go through those first steps, and that's why your first batch is a little bit runnier. By the second batch, your athlete's like, okay, I'm ready, I'm active, I'm gonna do that 100-meter sprint, I'm ready to go. So you're taking a little bit from that first batch now that has active culture in it, it's not sleeping anymore, and you put it into your next batch to reculture, and it knows, bam, I know what I'm doing, and I'm going to make some of the best Greek yogurt ever. So it's going to multiply faster, it's going to thicken things, and it's going to eat that milk sugars and create an absolute delicious yogurt. So that's why the second batch is so much nicer than the first batch. On another note, so many people also fail from the first batch to the second batch because they over-culture it. Yes, there is such a thing as over-culturing. Actually, when you're dealing with cultures, less is more. Always think that in your head. Less is more, less is more. And I stumbled over this because I've done all the mistakes. Okay, 15 years ago when I started with cultures, I did the same guidelines that everybody else follows. Using a cup of starter into a gallon of milk to get your yogurt going. After a few batches, it would always go slimy. It would always have a lot of whey at the top. It never ever seemed to really do as great, but yet I'm holding the temperature the way that I should. I'm doing everything that I can, or I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing, and it's still not turning out, and it's because I'm over culturing. So what's happening is that I'm putting these really strong athletes, which is the culture, into my milk. You don't need much to culture a gallon of milk, and that's what creates the thickness. That's what creates it being so delicious, is that you're giving the culture the room to multiply, to eat those milk sugars, and it just really, thickens it up like crazy. And so that's super important to remember, is that less is more. Don't put more in to get a better result. You're actually going to get a worse of a result, and it's not going to taste really good. The next biggest mistake with culture that people don't understand is why we heat up the milk before we add in the culture. So this goes with raw milk, and this goes with milk from the store that's already pasteurized. First of all, if you're using milk from the store, do not buy ultra pasteurized. Ultra anything. You just want pasteurized milk. That is it. No other funny business. So if it has anything else on it, do not get that. You can use full fat milk, you can use 2% milk, 1%, that's totally up to you, but just do not do ultra pasteurized. So on the flip side, if you got raw milk, you can skim some of the cream off if you want. You can keep the cream in with the milk. Totally up to you, but the same concept is that it needs to be heated up to 180 Fahrenheit in order to create a medium that the culture that you have purchased will take over. If it's raw milk itself has bacteria and awesome strong cultures already in there, but that culture will overtake your culture that you are trying to make within that milk, and it has this battle. So yes, if you don't heat up your milk, the first batch will be okay, the second batch will be good, but you'll never achieve that really nice thick yogurt because there's this culture battle, and the raw milk cultures will eventually win, and within about 5 to 7 weeks you'll notice that your yogurt will start turning runny, sour, and tangy. It's because the milk cultures are actually killing off your yogurt culture, and you're having a huge die-off, and it'll be just absolutely gross. So heating up the milk, yes, you are killing the natural bacteria in the milk, but you're creating a medium which the yogurt culture can consume and grow, and making a delicious yogurt. And same on the store-bought milk. You want to heat it up for safety. Now it's already been pasteurized, but heat it up again for safety reasons, and get that where you know, yep, we're good to go. Let's put in the culture. So please do not skip this heating step. I know how it feels heating up raw milk because we do have dairy cows, and I understand raw milk completely. And with your yogurt culture that you have purchased, I am actually using store-bought certified organic milk from the store to make the cultures. So, but I also understand that raw milk, but I also understand that flip side on raw milk because I work with raw milk all the time, so I understand both sides, and I really want to go through this and share this with you because you really need to know this information about culturing for complete success, and complete success taking the culture that you just bought and keeping that culture going and having that same delicious flavor and taste every time that you make yogurt. The other thing I would like to quickly mention is that I'm also a cheese maker. So I love taking my raw milk and turning it into beautiful cheeses. Just a note that the Greek yogurt starter that's in here is also your thermophilic starter. So I'm a big believer in having starters for your cheese that you can reculture over and over again. This is your thermophilic culture. So if you watch some of my videos, you'll know that I make my own cheese culture, and this is it as well. You can buy this to enjoy Greek yogurt, but you can also use this as your thermophilic culture for all your cheese making. So if you're watching this video and you're going, well, what about the mesophilic culture? And that is buttermilk, as it is completely different than your Greek yogurt or your thermophilic culture. So there is a separate video on the website. Purchase the buttermilk culture, and then you got your mesophilic culture. So there's a little note for those cheese makers out there. You don't have to be tied to be buying culture from a cheese making place over and over again. You just need to make sure that you have a mesophilic culture, which is your buttermilk culture, and your thermophilic culture, which is your Greek yogurt. Okay, so there's enough chit chat about culture. Let's now go into the kitchen and let's open up the package and let's activate our Greek yogurt culture. So first thing is, I'm going to just show you what we're going to be making. So take a look at this. See how thick that is? Look at that. Isn't that absolutely delicious? Look how thick. That's just No fillers. I mean, look at that. Beautiful, beautiful yogurt. Absolutely beautiful. Look at how it just holds on that spoon, and that's what you want. This is what we're gonna achieve. Absolutely thick yogurt. No taking the whey out, no adding any fillers, just the understanding of culture and making delicious, absolutely delicious yogurt. So now that we are ready to activate our culture, the very first step is heating up your milk. Again, whether that's raw or pasteurized milk from the store, let's heat it up to 180 Fahrenheit. So there's two ways you can heat up your milk. One is you can grab a pot right now and pour in 4 cups of cold milk and heat that up slowly to 180 Fahrenheit. Make sure you got a thermometer. Get it up there to 180 and whisk it well. Do not stop whisking as milk burns very easily on the stove top. You can also use a double boiler and that'll definitely help the milk from burning the bottom. But the biggest thing is keep it moving and get it to 180 Fahrenheit. Once it's 180 Fahrenheit, take it off the hot plate. Take it off the hot plate and follow step number 2. The other way to do it is using your Instant Pot. Now I'm going to be making yogurt in the Instant Pot because I find it one of the best ways to make yogurt. I actually purchased my Instant Pot not for pressure cooking, but for the yogurt function. I actually don't use my Instant Pot at all. It is strictly my yogurt maker. And so what I'm going to be doing is actually heating up my milk in the insert into the Instant Pot. One, because I'm a busy mom and I do not like sitting there stirring my pot till it reaches 180. I've done plenty of years doing that. This way I can just pour my milk into the insert, put it into the Instant Pot, and it will reach the temperature it needs to reach because it has a function actually to boil. It's called boil function on the yogurt making side of this machine, and it will heat it up for me. And so I can literally put it into the machine and walk away for 10 to 15 minutes that it takes to do that, which is absolutely awesome because again, if you got small kids or you're busy, then you're not tied stirring that milk. It saves a lot of time. So do this step. Let's heat up the milk and then I will show you step 2. So if you're using an Instant Pot like I am, a little trick if you're using store-bought milk. This is really important because if you put store-bought milk just into the insert, it seems to leave a little residue, not burnt or anything, but just a little residue when it's done. And to prevent that, you just take water and then just kind of move that water around in your insert and then just pour it out. Now I would just pour this out into the sink, but I'm not by the sink, so I just have a bowl here. Okay, so it's just making it wet, and that seems to really help prevent any little bit of residue at the bottom. But if you're using raw milk, you do not have to do this step at all. There will be no residue. Don't worry about it if you're using raw milk. This is just for store-bought milk. If you're using a pot, pour the milk into the pot, get it on the hot plate and heat it up slowly. We're using 4 cups of milk, so let's measure that out. As for the type of milk to use, you can use 1%, 2% store-bought milk, full-fat store-bought milk. It just depends on how creamy and rich you want your Greek yogurt. If you want really creamy, I would do like 3.5 cups of whole milk, and then add in a half a cup of pure cream. Mix that together as a total of 4 cups, and then heat it like I'm gonna do. If you don't want so much fat in there, then just use whole milk or 2%, that'll work as well. If you're using raw milk like I do personally when I make my Greek yogurt, I don't skim any of the cream. I just mix it into the gallon as is and use it as full fat milk. So you have a beautiful, rich, creamy flavor. So depends on what you want and how creamy you want it will depend what kind of milk you put into it. So that's just a personal choice that you need to make. What's important is your total here needs to be 4 cups of milk. You always use 4 cups at the beginning when you are activating your culture. Okay, so there's 4 cups. Okay, so let's get this into the Instant Pot. Okay, so my Instant Pot, my yogurt function is right here. It says yogurt, so just click it, and then it says normal. That's not the setting. You click it again, and it should flash boil, and that's what you want to do, is have it on that boil setting, and then just leave it. It'll beep here and tell you, hey, I'm at this setting. And then it'll have a little flame, and it's gonna heat it up to 180 Fahrenheit for me in about 10 to 15 minutes. So the Instant Pot is done. So what we need to do is step number 2. We need to cool down our milk. Now, in order to do that, you got a couple of options. You can leave it in the Instant Pot and just let it cool naturally. Now, this will take, 2 or 3 hours to do that, depending on how much milk you got in there. My Instant Pot can easily hold 1.5 gallons of milk. So if I would do the full rest, like if I was doing a big recipe, this would definitely take like 6 to 8 hours to cool down, or even a bit longer than that. I only got 4 cups in here, so we're looking between 2 to 3 hours. You could definitely do that. If you use cream into your milk, so if you added cream, or if you did whole milk with that beautiful cream in there, you'll notice a cream layer on top. Just whisk that in, no big deal. If it doesn't go in really smoothly, it does not affect the end product. It will all come together at the end, but just give it a little whisk before you cool it down. The other way to cool this down is by putting your Instant Pot insert into the sink. We're gonna put a plate on top, and we're just gonna run some cold water in the sink. You're just filling to the level of milk that's in your Instant Pot. So if you only got that much milk at the bottom, that's how high your water is. If you're doing 1.5 gallons, let's say for further batches, then you're gonna raise the amount of water, and it will cool down within 10 minutes to the temperature that we want. Now we want to cool our milk down between 108 Fahrenheit to 112. You do not want to culture your milk if it is higher than 112, because you will kill your culture. You want to be around that 108 Fahrenheit. I rather err on the side of caution, go lower than higher with this. Even if you had to walk away and your milk got cooler than 108 Fahrenheit, that's okay, because when you add in your culture and you put it back into your yogurt maker will increase your milk temperature to between 108 and 112, and everything will be okay. It is better that you put your culture in cooler milk than it is too hot. So that's what I'm going to do. We're going to remove the insert, put it in the sink, cool down our milk. Now, if you use a pot, put the lid on, you can do the same thing. If it fits in the sink, then do the exact same thing I'm going to do with the instant insert. If it doesn't fit in the sink, let's say the handle is a little long, then transfer your milk into a jar, get a lid on it, put some water in the sink, dip it in the water and cool it down. That way it speeds that up. In the pot, the same thing can apply like the Instant Pot. You can let it naturally cool down. Again, it's going to take about 8 hours to do that. So I like this method. One, it just means that the milk has no way of souring whatsoever. We keep that nice smooth flavor and we chill it down really quick, get it to the desired temperature, and then culture it. So let's go do that. So now what you want to do after the 10 minutes is take the lid off, and then you want to take the temperature. Now what I like to do is just give this a good mix and then tip it because you want an accurate reading. And this is looking really good. So we are 104. And that is just fine. Remember I said a little bit cooler is better than too hot. So this is ready to go. Now it's time to put in our culture. Okay, so I have my insert here. I just have it on a tea towel because the bottom is wet from the water. This just dries it off really quick. So I'm just going to set this aside a little bit. You can have any kind of bowl here. Just have something small where you can pour your culture in, pour a little milk and whisk it up. I have a ladle here. I got a small whisk and I just got a bowl to put my dirty stuff in after so I'm not dripping all over the table. The next thing you want is to have your culture. So let's go ahead and open this. You will have 2 of these pouches in your package. So you only need 1. I put in 2 just in case you mess up on your first round or you want 1 for backup. Store this in the freezer or the fridge. It'll last for a few years. I've actually had culture stored for over 4 years and it was still good. So there's long shelf life on this. I would just recommend putting it back into here and putting it in the freezer. That's the best. If you don't have access to a freezer, cold storage or fridge would work as well. The freezer just keeps it even longer. So go ahead and open your package or your pouch up. There we go. So get it where you can open it like this and just spill it out. And it will look like this here. And then what you want to do is just grab a small ladle full of your milk and put it in there. And then you want to whisk it up for about a minute. Now you're ready to add it in. Now if you have any little bit of residue left, you can just go ahead, grab another ladleful and give it a quick little whisk. Just like that, and pour it, and that'll get everything out. Okay, so once that step is done, Once you got it poured, now you want to give it a really good mix so everything's evenly distributed. Now you can use a bigger whisk if you like. I just have this one dirty already, and so I'm just using it. Okay, that looks really good. Now we just need to put this into the Instant Pot. If you were at this stage and you were using your pot, you would do the same thing. Put the culture, mix it into your pot. If cool down milk, if you put it in a jar, do the same thing in your jar. And this is where things are going to differ. If you are using the Instant Pot, just follow me. If you're using a different yogurt maker, you would have to take it out of your pot or out of your jar and pour it into their specific jars, or however your yogurt maker works from there. So again, the function here is yogurt. I'm just going to click it or press it. You don't want it on boil, so definitely press it until it says normal and set it to 8 hours. And 8 hours is perfect. If you go longer than 8 hours, you're going to worry about it over culturing. 8 hours gives it a really, really nice flavor. And so it will start counting from 0 all the way up to 8. And again, if you're using a different yogurt maker, you're just going to have to follow the instructions that the company gives you. But this is the incubation process, and now we just need to wait. So 8 hours is up, and you can see that the Instant Pot says end. That means it's done. So let's open this up and take a look at it. And I'm just going to move the insert. You can see that it has thickened. Now, like I said before, it is not going to be as thick the first batch as it will be the second. Now I need to transfer this insert into the fridge. Now it is super important you do not skip this step. Do not take a spoon right now and scoop it. You need to stop yourself from doing that, because the final setup will be in the fridge, and that's when the culture actually stops to multiply and it goes quiet. Okay, so it halts, and that actually gels this up some more. If you start fooling around scooping this right now, you actually disturb the culture and you basically can flop your yogurt. So it's really important that this goes in the fridge for 12 hours. Do not touch it, because it's amazing what happens if it goes from your yogurt maker to the fridge for 12 hours. That step is just as critical as not adding so much starter to set this up. So let's just take this out. And I'm just going to put a plate over it. And then I'm going to just put it in the fridge. And just let it set up there for 12 hours. So I'll see you back in a little bit. It's 12 hours later. Let's take a look at our yogurt. So I'm just going to remove the plate. And let's take a really close look at the consistency. Okay, you see that when I tipped it, it poured a bit. It is thick. Now remember, I said the first batch won't be the thickest. And you can see that here. Okay, you can see it's kind of runny. It's okay, but it started to gel. Like, it's an okay, not great. But this is the starting of your culture. Remember I said, it's like an athlete. It just got to wake up and kind of, go, oh, this is what I need to do. I need to get back into shape. And that's what we're doing here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit out, and I just have a 500 milliliter used yogurt container, and you can use any smaller plastic one, anything like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take some of this out for my next batch. And that's what I'm going to culture with, because what's going to happen is if you don't transfer some out, you're going to eat everything that you're going to transfer in the containers that you're going to scoop from. And what happens is so many people go, oh, I'll remember the last little bit I'll use to culture, and then suddenly guess what happens? You totally forget, and that's why I always transfer into a different yogurt container. Okay, so because this isn't as thick, I don't really need to scoop it. I'm going to kind of just pour it out, just like that. And you can eat this yogurt. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It tastes just fine. It's just a little bit on the runny side. You can bake with it. You can make a drink out of it if you like. Blend it up with some banana, maybe some mango in there. Lots of different things, but do not discard it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just a little bit liquidy. Okay, so I'm gonna put the lids on here, and then I'm gonna put that in the fridge. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to wash this insert out. And I'm going to do the same process as I did in the beginning. So again, I'm going to put in 4 cups of milk into my Instant Pot insert. I'm going to heat it up to 180 Fahrenheit. And then I'm going to cool it down between 108 Fahrenheit to 112 Fahrenheit. And then I will see you for the next step after that. So when I come back, I'm going to have my milk cooled down and ready to culture again, and I'll show you how I do that. So now that I have my milk cooled down and it is at 108 Fahrenheit, what I'm going to do is open up the yogurt container with the culture that we saved from the last batch. So I'm going to grab a half a tablespoon out of here and put it into a smaller container. Now you can use a bowl or anything, just enough where you can add in some milk in here to mix it about before you add it into your main milk. And then I'm just going to pour a little bit of the milk into here. Whisk it up. Now if this was more gelled, you would definitely want to whisk it a little longer because it'll have a little more clump, so you want to whisk it smooth. And then you just add it back in, and then you mix it up. Mix it well. And now we're ready to put it into our Instant Pot. Now we want to press on this yogurt setting. We want to make sure that we press it enough times where it reads normal right here. And mine is set for 8 hours. You can adjust that with these buttons right here, and then it'll beep to you to tell you, hey, I'm ready. And it's going to go from 0 and count up to 8 hours. So now basically we just got to leave it alone, set it aside, and let it do its thing. Our second batch of yogurt is done, so let's get it into the fridge. Let's first take a look. Oh, looking good. I got a little bit of shadow, sorry you guys, but that's looking good. You can see how gelled it is already. Look at that. Awesome. Now I'm just going to put a plate over it. Now remember, you need to put this in the fridge for 12 hours. So you can see how much it gelled, you can see how much it thickened up this time. Just think about how thick it will be after 12 hours in the fridge. I am so excited to show you. So 12 hours is up, and I am super excited to show you how thick this yogurt is. So let's take a look. Okay, so I'm just going to remove the lid, and it's going to be the easiest for me to scoop this to show you. Look at that. And you notice no drippings. It's holding its shape beautifully on the spoon. I mean, this is a huge scoop. And this is the final product, and this is what you want. So definitely don't freak out. Oh, some are breaking off because it's such a big scoop, but don't freak out on your first go at this. Remember, when you put that culture in at first, it's going to be a little more liquid because that culture's got to wake up, right? Remember? But then the second time, look at this, and you don't even need to strain off the whey. It's perfect. And this is what happens when you don't over culture. So what we're going to do is we are going to scoop this yogurt into some empty yogurt containers. Remember, I always keep these. I ask people for these because everyone, because lots of people buy yogurt and they just recycle these, but if you just ask, you can collect a whole bunch of these from other people. So I always do that because they fit perfectly in my fridge door. So let's just go ahead, transfer this out. Look at that beautiful, beautiful yogurt. So if you had put in any kind of cream in here, that cream would have settled a bit. You'll have a cream layer on top, which is absolutely delicious. And just scoop it like I'm doing right now. Now remember this, don't put all of your yogurt into these two that you're going to eat. I have a shorter container here, and that way I don't eat all of my yogurt and forget about keeping some for the next batch. Now for the next batch, what you want to do is you want to keep a half a tablespoon back. So you want something like that back. Now this is good for 4 cups. So it's a half a tablespoon per 4 cups of milk. So let's say you wanted to do a gallon. Well, that would be 4 half tablespoons or 2 tablespoons of starter. So I need to do a gallon, so I'm going to, since I got the half tablespoon dirty already, I'm just gonna scoop out 4 of them. There we go. And so this amount right here is going to reculture an entire gallon of milk. And that's all you need. So don't, again, lots of people are like, well, you need more. You don't. And this is the result. If you put more in, then you overculture, and then it's kind of liquidy instead of this nice, thick, beautiful yogurt that we made, because you're not overculturing. So that's something that is really important. And I know I've kind of repeated myself again and again a bit, but it's such an important concept that I really want to make sure that you get it and that you have the best yogurt ever. So now that you have your containers filled, you can make sure you label. If you've got multiple of these containers in the fridge, make sure you label them and put this all in the fridge. You've got 2 weeks to eat this. So when you make it fresh like this, you got about 2 weeks to eat it, but you want to reculture the next batch within a week, because after a week your culture isn't as fresh, and you want to keep it the freshest as possible, and therefore your culture is as healthy as possible. So definitely make the amount that you would eat within a week. Make sure you're reculturing every week, and that way your yogurt stays perfect all the time. And if you follow these steps, man, you're gonna have some absolutely wonderful tasting yogurt. So I just want to say thank you again for ordering the Greek yogurt starter from us, and I can't wait for you to enjoy your Greek yogurt. There is nothing like homemade yogurt. So smooth, so rich, so creamy, absolutely delicious. And I can't wait for you to make yours. So if you have any further questions, you can also go to the website everything-homemade.com, and you can also fill out a form there and it will get to me. Thank you once again for ordering your Greek yogurt starter from us, because there's nothing like eating fresh Greek yogurt. So head into the kitchen, open up your package, and start making your Greek yogurt today.